welcome to another edition of Late Night with Larry. I'm here with my co-host Vince. We're doing it once again. Vince, give him a shout out.
Hey everybody, welcome back.
Welcome, Glack?
Yeah, I've been watching too many TV
Yeah, it's been
movies.
a long week, huh?
Yeah, it has. But welcome back to the Larry D Studios. Glad to have you back. Glad to be here.
Right.
Gonna do a little talking tonight. Hopefully you want to listen.
That's right. Hopefully you come along with us on this journey. But before we get started, we want you to hit that subscribe button and let us into your world. And if you want to get in touch with us, you got a story, an encounter, or just want to shoot us an email, you could do it at latenightwithlarry55@gmail.com. So reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, we would. And as usual, let's get things rolling.
That's right.
How about a little shot here of Hunch Punch? And
Hunch
how
Punch.
about we do a shot every time somebody hits that subscribe button?
That'll do it. We'll do a shot for you people. Here's to you.
To you.
Wow. Gotta love that stuff. So, Hunch Punch, if we do a million shots now.
We will no longer be around.
That's right. So, I was telling my brother earlier that off camera that I think we're just going to talk tonight about the encounters that Bigfoot have with people, with I guess it's just every ordinary day people that don't expect it.
Right. Not necessarily people going out looking for them.
Right.
But they just have that chance encounter. And usually I think most encounters are like that. But some of them have some strange interactions. I don't know if it's weird how do they get picked? How does Bigfoot say, well, I'm going to interact with this person?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they pick them myself either. Some people say it's your vibration that you give off, because everyone knows that the human body functions at a certain vibration, a certain hertz. I really don't know, but some people that are not even Bigfoot believers get an encounter. I recently seen a post on Facebook, and it was from a girl saying this happened last night, and there was a short video, and you could see the Squatch face looking in her window, looking up, and when you turn the volume up real loud, as she suggested, you could hear it tapping on the window. You just hear the tap.
Right.
And it was crazy. It was perfect. I was telling my brother, man, if that's hoaxed, that's one damn good hoax.
Yeah.
Because I could see the face clearly, and of course it looks like everyone says, like human, part ape, hair.
Right.
It threw me for a loop.
Right. Now we've all seen a lot of different renderings of what they supposedly look like, what people look like. I've heard even park rangers describe because they've seen them, but that is on our, I guess you could say, our bucket list, part of our quest. That's why we go out to the mountain so much. We want that Class A sighting for ourselves.
That's right. But some people just get lucky. Some people are just home watching TV or in bed, or their children are in bed or in the room playing, and they hear tapping on the wall, on the door, and lo and behold, it's
Right.
a Squatch.
Now that story you saw, that girl with the one tapping on her window looking in, did she indicate how she felt? Because some people say when they have their encounter, I felt terrified, I felt threatened, and other people say, no, for some reason I didn't feel that.
No, she did. She definitely said she felt scared. She was afraid. She said it was a terrifying experience. So, and you're right. Some people that have said they've had experiences say they felt at peace, like they knew it wasn't going to harm them.
Right. Now, I guess I'm different. If I'm out in the woods, especially by myself, and I see one's close to me, and it sees me, I'm going to get scared, because just the size of these things and what supposedly they look like, how could you not be scared?
Well, I haven't seen one, but just from what your experience and how you told me that you got so frightened and it shook you up, I could imagine there's not a person on this earth that won't get some type of emotional feeling
Right.
if you personally see one.
Right.
I don't care how big and how strong you are, it's going to affect you. And from the stories people say, it does affect you.
Right. And a lot of people say when they have their sighting, not only does it affect them, it changes their life.
Right.
It kind of changes the course of their life because you start believing in one thing, it opens the door to other things. And down the road, that's where a lot of these researchers or say people like us who want to talk about it, that's where it all starts with some kind of encounter.
Right, and I've heard stories that people, like you said, it does affect them. People that have seen them and they've been terrified for them. It affects your life. Some people it just like totally changes and destroys some person's life, while it intrigues another person. And the person that gets intrigued is the person who's always going out wanting more information, more knowledge, kind of like
Right.
we do.
Right.
But the people that it affects in a negative way, they wish they have never seen it. They have nightmares. They can't sleep at night. I don't know which category I'm gonna fall into if I ever have my personal sighting. I just know it's gonna be something special to me.
Right. Now, when I had mine, for a brief minute there, it did ruin my love of the mountains because I said I'm never going back again.
And so many people have, and you're right. You told me I'm not going back, and we've told our listeners time and time again that your son not going
Yeah,
back.
to this day, he still won't go back. Now, he talked me into going back, so after I faced that initial fear, I got over it. Don't get me wrong, every time I go out there, just everything flashes back, and I'm still nervous. I still am, but I thirst for knowledge. I want to know more. I want to see more.
Right, and I'm with him. I thirst for that knowledge. I just want to know what these creatures are all about. I don't believe that they're, from outer space, or I believe they're terrestrial. They're of this earth. They're part human, from what everyone keeps saying. They must be. If they look human like us and they're bipedal, then there's a human element to them. And
Yeah,
I wanna know.
either they're part human or we're part Sasquatch.
Well, it could be either way, but I just know that I've heard so many stories that they have to have a human element, or like my brother said, we're part Squatch. But
Right.
I want to know for myself. I want that sighting. I'll even take it from 20 yards away.
That's that's about how far my sighting was, and maybe a little further would be all right too.
Right. I always, when we go up to the mountains, I always carry an extra pair of pants and an extra pair of underwear, just in case.
I'm like a Nazis. I carry a cyanide pill. No, I'm just kidding. But getting back to their interactions, now I've heard several stories about young children going to stay with their grandparents on the farm or maybe up in the cabin, and that's when they had an encounter when they were young children. I've heard one of a young girl. They walked down to the pumpkin patch because there was a pumpkin patch by her grandparents' house, and while they were in the pumpkin patch, there was one kind of playing hide and seek with her. Now, I do believe they are attracted to children, to the sounds of children, to the laughter. I don't know what it is. Maybe because just like a dog, dogs are a good judge of character,
Right.
and children are pretty. Their hearts are pure. They have good intentions. They still love everything. So maybe it's the same with the Sasquatch. That's why they're attracted to children. Now, she had her encounter and she didn't tell anyone till years later, but it was just kind of neat how they interacted. She said she never felt no fear, but as a child, sometimes your curiosity takes over. But they were doing a little hide and seek, in the woods there, and I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, I mean, that there too, since they have a human element to them, there could be some that are just friendly and loving, and then you could have some that are just mean spirited and angry, like like humans.
Right. Yeah, we don't want to run into that one that's having a bad day.
No, I don't. I don't want to run into the grandpa one that's always grouchy. I want the nice spirited one that will give me a peaceful encounter and send me on my way. Because if I do run into one that's a little angry, I'm sure I won't want to go back to the woods.
Right. Right. I agree. We don't want to run into the one that just had an argument with a wife.
That's right. That's right. So when my day comes, I hope it's a peaceful one.
Right, and we've talked about this time and time again, and even in the vehicle on the side of the road, I'm okay with that too.
That's right. If it runs in front of my vehicle, that is just as good for me.
Yes.
So now that we're, talking about interactions, it's like the true story of the folk monster, which is kind of a Bigfoot, those people that were, according to the story, in their trailer at that night, for some reason, it kept coming around when the girls were alone. And then the one night they brought their boyfriends in to prove to them that, look, something's going on here. At first they thought it was, according to the story, it was a pervert or someone just sneaking around the property. But come to be, it was the Boggy Creek, the folk monsters.
Yeah.
And when the hand went through the bathroom, I don't know about that encounter. If you didn't already finish your business, I'm sure right there you did.
Yep, that puts a non-delay on it.
It does. So, like these girls, they were having peaceful encounters at first till their boyfriends came back, and I don't know. And we've talked about the natives and the forest bride. So,
Right.
Is this kind of an interaction too? Because it was a female that posted on Facebook that she had this encounter. It wasn't a male, it was a female. So, there again, a theory, are there enough females out there in their population, or do they genuinely do try and take females to...
Right. We just don't know enough about their living situation, their clan system. There could be a dominant male who gets to choose which females, or, he could have a harem, or we just don't know.
Right. I mean, and if I'm a weaker one and I'm not privy to the harem, of course, especially since they are of the human element,
Right,
they're
and-
going to need that interaction.
And I would guess the weaker ones are on the outskirts of the clan.
I would
Maybe
think
those
so.
are the ones you have the interaction with,
Maybe.
unless you come across a hunting party with the alpha male or something.
Right.
But we just don't know enough.
And I don't know if we ever will, but the interactions that these people have, some of them are genuine. And, of course, you get your stories out there too, but it's just weird that it seems like, from what I'm paying attention to, that it seems like a lot more females get interaction
Right.
with the Squatches. And now I don't know if the ones coming to the window or interacting with them are male or female, but it seems like a lot more females do have that.
Right. I think it's just common, and, well, our species also. If you're in the store and there's two sales associates, a guy and a young lady, you're more likely to go up to the young lady because 9 times out of 10, they're more friendly
Yeah.
and they're more open to helping you out.
Yeah, and the guys sometimes are more threatening. I get that. That's a good theory.
Yeah.
It's a good theory.
Now, let me ask you about this. People have had encounters where their doorknobs are being trying to open and stuff.
I have heard that.
Now, is that curiosity? Are they trying to get something?
I personally think that it's curiosity, or these creatures are smart. I mean, they're already masters of the forest. If they see you bringing in day in, week out groceries, and they see that that's food, and at one point, let's say there's a droughtful year and their grubbing is coming under question, and it's a skimmish out there, then I could see them saying, well, I know where there's some food.
And it must be good food because look how fat they are.
Right. And so I take it's curiosity, but at the same time, sometimes I wonder if they know what we bring into our houses.
Right.
Because you hear of some encounters where the house was just ravaged, and all they took was the food.
Right, because they see stuff going into the house, and they know what's in the trash, what's coming back out.
Right. So good, they smell your meat wrappers, some of the leftover food that you throw in, and I would think that they could put two and two together because,
Right.
I mean, if they're intelligent enough to survive out in those mountains.
You're not talking about condoms, right? Meat wrappers.
No, not
Oh, okay.
not those type of
All
meat
right, all right,
wrappers. Those are those come from the sheepskin.
Oh, okay. Wrong species.
Oh, right, that's right. We got off subject.
Okay.
We're sorry, folks.
Now, I heard a story, and if you people haven't been to PacWest Bigfoot yet, go ahead. I'm thinking he's still doing stories, but if not, there's a lot in the archives. Now, there was one story of a maid. She worked up in the mountains. What it was, they had several cabins.
Okay.
So she would clean the cabins. And one day she was cleaning this cabin. It was a 2-story cabin. And she was upstairs and she heard the door rattling. So she looked down from the 2-story or the second level. And it was a Sasquatch was coming in the front door. Now, she saw it kind of ducking down to come in. And she flipped out. She screamed. She fell. She hit her head and passed out.
Right.
So she don't know if that thing actually came in or not. I don't know how much time passed, but eventually she came to and woke up. She looked around. It was gone. Maybe her scream scared it off. But she went, got in her car, went to the owner's house, and I quit.
I'm not cleaning this place no more.
Right.
Well, I mean, and that takes us back to, and we've mentioned it on our podcast, the barn and the guys that broke into the barn and they said this woman's crazy. She's got gorillas in her barn.
Right.
I mean, it's not unheard of for them to be in our habitat. So, we always try to go to theirs. So I could see that being truthful.
Right. And I want to say it's the same story, but this lady, she had been interacting with them. The story was she worked at KFC, so at night she would take the leftover chicken, and they would be right there on the tree line waiting for the chicken. You know the saying, if you feed a stray dog, they don't go away. So they would send a juvenile over, and she would hand him the buckets of chicken, and he'd take them off to the forest, and they would eat. Now, they had different interactions. She said at one time she felt threatened because the juveniles were running around wreaking havoc. She had a chicken coop, and they were getting in there. So she went out and she chased one, and I guess one of the juveniles kind of confronted her, and she said she popped him in the nose. He fell down, and he got real. He was surprised, but he turned real aggressive. But one of the older ones, backed him down.
Backed him down, said, "Hey, this woman she's our meal ticket, boy."
Right, or told him, "Hey, that's what you deserve. That's her stuff."
That's right. I get it. But I could see that. I could see that too. And we've talked about this is like a classic interaction that's no longer on the internet. I can't find it. It's supposedly a man was on a certain property, and he interacted with them, and they vocalized to him.
Right.
They would talk to him.
Now this is in Canada.
Okay, and some of you may have heard it. He called this particular Sasquatch, Bigfoot, whatever you want to call it, he called it Nefertiti. And some of the recordings I heard, it would vocalize back, and he would have conversations with it.
Right.
And I even seen videos of like footprints and handprints.
And it would leave little gifts for him.
That's right. And so that encounter there, that's a rare one. And if that encounter truly did happen and that wasn't a hoax, these creatures, they're intelligent.
Right. He would go camp down by what they called the gifting tree, and they would start by throwing things at him, and then the vocalizations. Now, there was conversations. They weren't like an actual conversation like we have.
Right.
They would trade words.
Right.
And what the Sasquatch would do would mock him, because he could say certain words, and he could even count 1, 2, 3.
Right. And then the one he says, he called my brother-in-law Mike.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Now, that, for some reason, that was shut down. He gave a brief explanation but didn't want to get into it. Something about the property owners didn't want it going on no more. But that, that's his recordings were the closest I could find to what I actually heard in the Jemez Mountains. Right. They were actually almost spot on, you know.
Right. And I mean, there's stories as well as these creatures that people say they were on their tree line and they were calling their dog, yet it sounded like them calling their dog, but yet they were standing there and they were saying, you know, I wonder if this creature was trying to lure my dog in to become a meal. But they said it was calling my dog and it sounded just like me and it knew my dog's name.
Right.
So, you know, these type of interactions, that they're far and few in between, but the ones that do happen like that, they make you wonder.
The mimicking.
Yes, they make you wonder. I mean, we revisited the Sierra Sounds, and it's been proven that they can vocalize, and they can they have better vocalization power than we do, or let's say unique, different than us.
Right, and they definitely have a better vocalization range than, say, a typical ape.
Right. And if we could mimic some of the creatures out in the wild, with when you're hunting, you mimic an elk call or a deer, or, you know,
or even another person.
That's right. Why, of course, we imitate people and they're like, oh, you sounded just like him. Why couldn't they do it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think they sit out there, and I know they observe us.
Yeah.
And they listen enough, because one night we cannot say 100% without a doubt, but I'm pretty sure it was Sasquatch up in the hills mimicking owls, or an owl.
Right. We sat there that night and it was mimicking an owl, and we hooted back, and
it would answer us.
It would answer us.
It sounded like an 800-pound owl going hoo, hoo.
Right. and I told my brother, this is crazy, but it did. When we would give a response, it would. Now, owls ain't trained to do that.
Right.
You're not going to get that from an owl.
And if you listen to owls, they got kind of a different,
a higher pitch
right.
than what was given
and this
to
was,
us.
It sounded like a man mimicking an owl. Hoo, hoo.
And it was a deep, if let's just say this owl was about 8 feet tall.
Yeah, it was pretty cool though. Sometimes when that kind of stuff happens to us, when we're in the moment, you really can't believe it's happening, but it's pretty cool just to experience something like that. Even if you're not 100% sure,
right?
But you got a hunch. I mean, anyone who's been in the forest, you know the sounds.
Is that like a hunch punch?
Sure wish it was. I could use another one.
But he's right. We've had some strange things while we were up in the mountains that happened to us, and we can't explain them.
And, you know, that never even occurred to me, how we're talking in this episode about how Sasquatch interacts with people. Right. We're sharing other people's stories, and every time we go over there, that's what we have, an interaction.
We have ours. And I don't want to say 100% interaction till I see that one, and then I'm like, oh, that's who it's been all this time.
Right. But I think, because we go up there quite often, we go to the same spot a lot. I think we're in a good position, because I believe they travel through. There's a game trail right where we camp. So they might be... they might be getting more familiar with us being there, more used to us being there.
I think they are. I think they do habitat up there. And I've heard people say that they know the minute you enter the forest, and they know, and I don't know if it's telepathy or what or how, but it's just theorizing once again. We don't know for sure, but they say they know why we're there, and they know when we get there.
And right, and maybe that's why most of the time we go over there, they give us some little nugget to come home with, some kind of interaction, and maybe they think it's kind of funny, our reaction, like the time a bottle was thrown at us.
Right, we couldn't believe it.
Right.
We were the only people up there we know where we drove in. There was no one around.
Yeah, and we've taken the other roads all the way around there, and
Yep.
they're not passable. They're not friendly even to four-wheel drive vehicles.
No, but yet that distinct bottle sound, I'll never forget that. I looked at my brother and I was like, "Did you hear that? What was that? What?" It was just so crazy.
Right.
And things like that make me really, really want to dig deep and find out more about these creatures,
Right.
because they know how to get you on the edge. Like we talked about, we're in their territory. They're the masters of that forest. We would have a hard time surviving because we're so acclimated living our lifestyle.
The easy life.
Yeah, but they run through those mountains up and down, and yet when they interact with us, we question ourselves.
Right.
They probably look at us and say, let's mess with them.
Right.
These idiots.
Right. Now, when I had my first interaction, it scared me because it caught me off guard.
Right.
And a couple of our first interactions when we first started going up there, they were kind of creepy because remember that night I woke you up with the screams?
Yeah.
And then that time we went camping when it was freezing and you heard that scream?
I think, but those they were in a distance, but I think those times, those interactions, those are just letting maybe other clan members know where they're at, or that's a dominance call saying,
Right.
Daddy's here.
Those may not have necessarily been meant for us, but
Right.
we heard them.
And and I can't explain that. My stepdaughter asked me, she said, "Well, what did you hear? What did it sound like?" And we were watching one of the Bigfoot, I forgot what it was. Maybe was it Todd Standings, or I don't know. We were watching one of the Bigfoot documentaries, and when that came on, I told her that's what I heard. I said, exactly like it sounds on TV is exactly what I heard out there. I told her, now just think of a big, strong man with deep, big lungs hollering at the top of his lungs for about 10 seconds. And you hear that and you're like, wow. Because I could try to mimic that, but I don't think it would get any further than a couple 100 feet down the road.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't even get close to that.
But what we heard, I know, was in a far distance. And it woke me up. Don't know what it was, but I do know what it wasn't.
Right. Yeah, like I said, anyone who goes to the forest, the sounds of the animals out there. And some animals they'll throw you off if you've never heard them before, like a mountain lion.
Right.
Sometimes they throw out some creepy sounds.
Yeah, but mountain lions, they make like a dying woman, a screaming woman, and you can usually tell it's some type of wildlife.
Or a cat. Yeah,
But
yeah.
I've never heard, and we go to the mountains a lot. I've never heard those type of screams in the mountains. Even when I was younger and I would go deer hunting down south in our part of the state called Quemado, which is it's further down south, and there too, I bet there's squatches down there because that's some good thick forest with a lot of deer running around and elk.
Yes. I've never really researched it down there.
I haven't either.
But, it makes sense because we talked about this in a few episodes ago about sightings in the Sandias.
Right.
And when we talked about the possibility of them passing through, but that would make sense because it's rich down south in wildlife.
It is rich down south in wildlife. And I've never, and there's a lot of ranchers down there, but like where we would go hunting, it's kind of like when we go to the Jemez, they like to keep people out of those areas. For what reason, I don't know, but they don't want you back there a lot, and who knows why. But yeah, I didn't even think about that. And this is like 30 years ago when I would go hunting down there.
Right. Now, we did hear one thing. When we were young, we went, I don't know if we were camping or just a day picnic. Do you remember when there was that scream and our dad and our uncles grabbed the rifles and they went to investigate? Then I guess it screamed again and they're like, we're out of here.
No, we were going to set up camp. We went to camp. We were going to camp, and I think I was like 12.
I know I was very young.
I was like,
If you were 12, I must have been like 1.
thanks. See how he gives my age away? Damn it. No, I think I was like 11, 12 because I specifically remember this. And he's right. You know, he was younger. He was maybe 7, 8. And we were in that age range. And we went there, and that's where we always went camping. But once we heard that and they grabbed their rifles, we said no. We packed it up and we went home because either they knew what it was and didn't want to tell us, or they really didn't know. But we did pack it up and go home, and it was loud and it was scary.
I want to say they knew what it was because when we were very young, they took us to see Boggy Creek in the theater.
Right. So then they had to know.
Yeah.
Damn it. But, you know, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to just talk about you about some encounters that, you know, people that don't expect them have them. And they're not necessarily the Bigfoot crowd like we are. They're not the investigators. They're not the ones going down the rabbit hole. But yet something happens to them. Why they win the lottery? Can't tell you. But I just know there's a lot of people out there that have encounters with these creatures that don't want them.
Right. Or, you know, there's a lot of people who have encounters that don't say anything.
Yeah, there's probably thousands of people that have encounters and don't say anything.
I'm guessing more people don't talk about it than the ones that do.
Right.
Just because of the fear of ridicule and everything that goes around along with that, like, oh, this dude's a crackpot.
Oh, well, of course. I mean, before you had your encounter, what would you think?
Exactly. Yeah. I've heard it before by some credible people. Our dad was one that night. He was going home from work.
Right.
But I always took everything with a grain of salt.
Well, I mean, yeah, you do, but you don't want to be called a crackpot. I mean, you don't want to be ridiculed. Human nature, you know, it makes you feel bad. But
right. And now I don't care what they call me because I know what happened to me that night.
And I've had enough things happen to me that I know that they're real and they're out there. I'm just waiting to see one. And I really don't care what people think about. That's why I'm wearing this shirt, if you could see it.
Boogeyman.
Yeah. And at the bottom it says, "Catch me if you can."
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't care. We're just gonna keep doing what we do, and we'll keep bringing what we think you want to hear.
Now, if we ever do have that Class A sighting and it shakes us up, we'll do our final podcast. We'll be here before you cry and say, "We're done. We're done."
This is our last episode, and we're signing off. Thanks for listening.
No, that'll never happen because we are truth seekers. We want to bring you the truth. And hey, anyone passing through New Mexico, if you want to go out with us, we'd be happy to take you.
Reach out to us. We'll make it happen. And, you know, I think if we have that classic site, if I do, I mean, it's gonna flame the fire.
It is. And with me, at first, I went the opposite direction, but with him kind of, let's go. Nudging me. Yeah. It turned me around, and now I crave going out there.
Yeah, see, and if you ask my mom, that's always been me. She'll say, yeah, he's the one that'll probably get abducted by a Squatch because he likes to push the envelope.
Yeah.
All his life, always has, always will. But thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this episode.
Yes, and if you have any stories to share with us, get in touch with us. Very soon we'll be able to take your call. We'd love to hear from you.
That's right. I did call the company, and they told me this COVID is just messing everything up. We're supposed to already have it shipped, but it's coming 1st of November, and my hands are itching because I already have some callers lined up, and we want to get those stories to you.
Right, and we want to put your stories out there as well.
That's right. But for now, we just thank you for listening, and we'll be bringing you more material as always.
And as usual, we'll give a nudge. Coors Light.
If
you want to sponsor somebody,
here.
Right. We are the ones.
That's right. Thanks for listening, people.
Peace.